All right, today is the primary focus is going to be the lungs. So we're going to start in a wide-kneed child's pose with a twist. So come into your normal daily child's pose and then take your knees out wide, come up onto your elbows, and you're going to thread your left arm behind your right elbow and bring your left ear onto the ground. Maybe it feels good for you to wrap your right arm behind your ribs. Maybe you even find that your fingers can reach your inner thigh. But wherever you're at, just see if you can take a full deep inhale. Sigh it out. And maybe close your eyes. Some people need a pillow here, but I do not. Thank you. Just allow yourself to arrive. Get all the important parts there first. You had your mat down, you got your body there, your Zoom on, your video on, but let your attention really gather. Invite everything in. The things that are good, the things that are hard, the things that we're still exploring together, curious about, don't have answers about, maybe. You want to allow your body to soften once you've found the position. And then with this softness in mind still, commit to staying there, to staying in the pose, to breathing through those moments that are uncomfortable or mildly unpleasant. If you have sharp pain, that's not okay. But being annoyed, being irritated, bored, restless, that's all okay. And we want to stay through those moments. And then leaving your knees as wide as they are, come up onto your elbows and thread your right arm behind your left elbow, twisting your torso to the other side. You can be noisy about it. You can moan and groan. You want to feel that you put your other ear on the ground. So this time, I'll at least demonstrate the right way. Your right ear is on the ground. And then if it's there for you, reach up your left arm, twist it around your back. Let your fingers kind of hook into the inner thigh to get nearly squeezed in there, but it helps your whole arm relax a little bit. Take a full breath in. With your exhale, just sigh it out. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. They may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Those words were Rumi's. And I love this thought of imagining, hundreds of years ago when he wrote them. He was in such a different world than we are now. And just like, I just bet he had no idea how many varied places would start to quote his poems and his love letters to God. Now unwind your torso, slide your knees together, and you can take your arms back behind you into embryo pose. So embryo pose is just like Balasana, but you have your hands going back so your shoulders can be more relaxed. This poem, The Guest House, is such a beautiful picture of all the different things and people and feelings and sensations and insights even that we feel are coming at us throughout our day. Now inhale, roll up your chest or just come up, and then you could also just shoot your legs back. The next posture we're going to do is Sphinx. So, I don't know if that would work. Just put your hands forward, slide your feet back. Sure, that would kind of work. But coming into Sphinx, you take your elbows shoulder distance apart. And I like to put my elbows just a little bit in front of my shoulders. It allows it to be a little bit more passive. And let's take some face yoga moments here. So even if you're young, it's not always going to be that way. Start now. It just creeps up on you, I tell you. All right. So take your chin to your right shoulder and lift up your right chin. It's beautiful. And kiss the world. Good morning. Smile and pucker your lips like you're giving them good grandma smooch. So you have a good smacking sound. It crinkles maybe your eyes, but lifts up your cheeks, reaches all the way down into your neck. Beautiful. And then bring your chin down to center and take your chin to your left shoulder. And again, purse your lips, lift up your chin, kiss that side of the world. Good morning or good evening or just good day, especially if you're not sure what time it is. Beautiful. So bring your chin back to center and you can take your chin right up the center and look at the ceiling, look through the ceiling. Imagine the starry skies, even if sunlight is blinding your eyes, and kiss this beautiful universe good morning or good evening or good day. But you notice as I'm asking you to make pursy lips faces at the universe and say hello, you naturally have a little bit of a lift in your chest and in your attitude even. And then release your face. You can do some wows to relax it again. Just letting your whole face and explode in the wow. Like, isn't this world amazing? Wow. This is a wonderful, wonderful, magical realm that we're in. Wow. Being human is so cool. Wow. Fantastic. And then, just relax your face. And you'll notice that actually it's quite relaxing to have a little bit of a smile. And when you smile a little bit, it also flares your nostrils and helps you take in oxygen, which naturally makes you happier. As I said, we're focusing on the lungs and the At the lungs and the intestines. I always forget, but it's the large intestines, of course. And one of the essential things that we connect to the lungs is oxygen, is breath, is this vital, invisible substance that we depend on. And we even depend on our body working while we sleep so we can continue to breathe. It is the thing that we need most. We can go a couple days without water, more days without food, but only moments really without breathing. It's a place where we are continually passing over this boundary between us and the world. Even your exhale contributes to this whole creation. And if we only knew how incredibly powerful we were as human beings, we'd start to notice how much moves out with our breath into the world, how much of our energy, how much of our thinking charge, you could nearly say, affects everything around us. Now, with your next inhale, lift up your chest and then soften down to the ground. Take your forehead onto your forearms or lay one of your ears on the ground, twisting your neck subtly, and just wiggle your hips side to side. Now, look to your left and stretch your right arm back behind you, straight out from your shoulder. And then hug your knees up to your chest. And then reach up with your top arm. Again, twisting your arm behind you or reaching and seeing if you can actually hold hands behind you without lowering your lower arm, at least not significantly. So a little bit like, okay. And then take your left foot and step it onto the yoga mat. If it's there for you, you might even lift up your right knee and put your right foot on the yoga mat. Some people can even roll their whole left hip down to the yoga mat. But not I, my friend. And some people need little pillows underneath the head here. Allow yourself to breathe. Feel that it's intense, especially on your lower shoulder. Like recognize that and then start to be curious about what other things you feel. So our earthly life is really marked by the first breath we take till the last breath we take. It is our kind of our mechanism of presence. And when we bring intentional rhythm to our breath, you can nearly imagine it as a wordless prayer, a participation in this holy creation. We find this in yoga, we find this in meditation, both classically, and you'll notice that you'll start to employ intentional breaths when you really need to become grounded, when you really need to get present. The lungs celebrate the moment you're in. And then roll back onto your belly. Wiggle your fingers, see that they all still move, even if you have like pins and needles. You can moan and sigh or grunt and cry a little bit, but you'll notice that sounds help you move feelings through your physical body. You can also give yourself a shoulder massage. This is all within the rules. And then stretch out your other arm, whichever one you started not with. Okay, good English. Hug your knees up to your chest. Your gaze is away from your arm. And then stretch up. For most of it's the right arm stretching up, reaching behind, seeing if you can hold hands. Sometimes just dropping your chin a little bit towards your chest will help your head relax, your neck relax. Beautiful. So not only is breath so vital to our very existence, moment to moment, but one of the most exciting things that humans can do is also connected to the lung. And this time I'm not talking about singing, though we'll get there. I'm talking about speaking. We can think of speaking as very dramatic breathing or message heavy breathing. And we know from being on the receiving end, probably just as much as the giving end, that words are powerful. And could you imagine that words could be more powerful and have become more powerful as we, as human beings, evolve? It's hard for us, these feeling filled, emotional, thought filled beings, to imagine that being human isn't exactly like it is for us 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago. But even now, younger generations speak of having a more intense feeling life than older generations. And it's not just because they're young and so full of emotions, as one is when one is young, but there's something else at play here. Or could there be something else at play? Let it live as a question. And then roll back onto your belly. Grateful we're not spending more time there, perhaps wiggling your fingers and your toes and groaning and crying and making, weird sounds as the circulation joyfully rushes back to the places that you deprived it from. So that's part of what happens in a yoga pose. Part of your healing and the way yoga makes you feel better is you're creating these tourniquets and releasing them, and it's your fresh oxygenated blood rushing into your body that actually has a healing effect. Now you're going to slide your elbows forward and come into Sphinx, and either stay in Sphinx or transform your Sphinx, this holy mythical being, into a seal. It feels a little backwards, but you just stretch your arms out. So you can have Sphinx that looks just like a Sphinx instead of going to seal. You can have kind of a wide armed, like kind of fat mama bear seal, which doesn't make your back that intense. Or you can have an overeager, really happy, a high pitched voice, I don't know, young seal who's eager to impress. And you can actually bring your hands closer and closer to your hips as long as your spine is okay. I imagine you can also feel more intensity by bringing your legs closer together. But notice where your body has just the right amount of challenge and just the right amount of ease. So I don't know. Was it in the Mother Goose rhymes books, which is it's like this like book, I think it was English, like a book of rhymes and fairy tales. But where the rhyme was sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I mean, gosh, how wrong that is, huh? Like my bruises went away way before I could unhear those words that I keep repeating over and over to myself. It's a weird thing that we've carried some of these messages so innocently collectively, and then all of a sudden you start to notice, like, what is it that we're saying? But there is this incredible lasting power of certain words. Have you noticed? We replay things to us that have been said to us in our childhood throughout our lifetime. We build up misconceptions of ourselves by telling ourselves things in words. How do you refer to yourself as? What do you call yourself when you screw up something? What do you even what do you say to yourself as a mantra? What kind of voice do you use? We can feel how even our own words to ourselves can pack a punch, can have a vibration that rocks through you, every single one of your cells. And this is just you talking to yourself. Now, see if you can peacefully stay for 10 more full, deep breaths. After your 10th breath, soften down towards the ground, wiggling your hips side to side, or even sashaying your legs side to side. You can have your forehead on the ground, or you can take your gaze one side or the other. Just if you do take your gaze to the side, you can tell I've been teaching Bikram yoga again, but really just start to switch up which side you're taking your gaze to. And then find some stillness. So while this poem, The Guest House, kind of imagines these people coming to your house, oftentimes it is by our invitation that these come into our house. Take your hands underneath your shoulders and then push yourself back into child's pose. And we're gonna stay in child's pose for a couple of breaths. Your arms stretch forward, your knees comfortably wide. Balasana, your big toes touching. So starting to wake up to the power of our own words in ourselves and also to other people is what is the first step in imbuing your word with value and gold. Now you're going to lift up your hips and slide into Anahata Asana. So lift up your hips, bring your hips over your knees, and then you'll be like, I'm not in child's pose anymore. So you have to slide your arms forward again and bring your head back down. So it's like child's pose with your butt in the air. You can even see kids sometimes sleeping like this. Maybe it's just a phenomena I've come across, but this pose is called Anahata Asana, and what you can feel is that your chest is kind of dropping towards the earth. If it's there for you, you could put your chin forward, but your forehead is totally also wonderful to have on the ground here. We start to notice, and first when we notice how words play a role for us, so maybe we hear something our mother said, or maybe we hear something like an astrologer or a seer said to you when you were younger, or maybe it was a teacher, or maybe even a stranger or a lover, or who knows. But we carry certain people's words with us. And we seem to be more skilled at collecting daggers and weapons against ourselves instead of lifting up admirations or celebrations of our strengths. But these words that have injured us, we can nearly feel their double pointedness. So have you ever said something to somebody that was so mean and you regretted it right away? Because it kind of hurts us to say mean things. You can't stop your ears from hearing. I mean, that's maybe debatable. Oftentimes, someone won't hear something until they're ready to hear it. But once you heard it, it's really hard to unhear it. And you actually, we can put our hands over our ears, but we can't just, passively sit there and turn off our ears. though we definitely seem to be able to sometimes not listen. But this power of the word is revealed to us most quickly and easily in the painful moments. In the moments that hurt, that we still suffer, even though perhaps those moments were eons ago. So to imagine that all of our words that we share with another human could have such power and such a lasting effect. What do we then imagine that we could do with our words in a positive way? In a way of being generous, creative, collaboratively. And then let your hips start to slide back to your heels. And one more time, we're going to return to child's pose. With your next inhale, roll up, cross your ankles, roll over your crossed ankles, or take your legs out to the side. And we're going to stretch our legs out into a full straddle, into dragonfly. And we're going to do the lateral stretches. So we're going to take let's start with our right hand today, and we're going to slide our right hand down our right leg. You can squeeze a couple times if you've been a little touch deprived, maybe even squeeze your toes, and then bend your elbow and catch your head. And then stretch your left arm up, reach it up, really feel it. You're like trying to reach the heavens, and then drape your arm over your ear, or maybe you can even reach your toes, but somewhere in between, most likely. And you can relax your arms so it's nearly like you're, I don't know, wearing a cowl. But that it's a really passive wrap. A good feedback is you want to feel the stretch through your rib cage. And even here, maybe see if you can relax your toes. I mean, I naturally also tend to activate my feet. But see if you can soften. You know, with our word, when we start to be committed to being honest, when we start to really commit to being, you know, to having integrity of doing what you said, and when you can't do it, correcting it and saying differently, like using your word and your power of speech in a consequent way, it liberates energy in you. It empowers the very words coming out of your mouth. And not just the words when you're like very, you know, bestemmed or decided, and you're, you know, being integrous, but all the words you speak start to have more power to them when you know that your words are of consequence even to yourself. And it's hard because, you're, oh, well, I'm just going to have one piece of chocolate. And you have that one piece of chocolate and it's just so good. And I mean, what's the difference between one piece or two pieces? It's not that big of a deal, right? Okay, I'm just going to have two. And then, like, where do you stop? How does your word mean something to you? Or doesn't it mean something to you? It is a level of sophistication and practice that is confronting for all of us who use words. Start to inhale up. You can take a little yang moment. Now, either bring your hands to one hand behind you, one hand in front of you, and just pop your hips up. Or you can even try both hands in between your thighs and then extending your legs and seeing if you can float without getting a Charlie horse. And then we're going to take the other arm. So what did I say? I said we started with the right. So you're going to go with the left. Exactly. And catch your head. Drape, reach up first, like, yes, I'm in. I want to play this game of truth. Gotcha. And then stretch your arm over your head, letting your arm drape, maybe reaching your toes, maybe just wrapping around your head. But whatever your arm's doing, we don't want to lose the chest. So the hard part here is keeping your chest open, keeping your heart open, keeping your lungs open. It isn't easy to really refine your own speech because in our societies, in our cultures, we have such habituated exchanges that actually deliver some warmth often, even if they're not completely honest. So it's a very, I think it's such it's such a righteous spiritual practice just to have integrity and impeccability with your word. And always the effort with honesty is to constantly marry it together with kindness. So I want to jump up and look at my bookcase. His name is Brandon, I think. He wrote a book on honesty and radical honesty. And he talks about how when we're radically honest without kindness, we're being violent. Just like we all know how words can ricochet through us forever. So when we commit to this integrity, impeccability, this honesty with our own words, even to ourselves, we also have to be kind to ourselves, which is one of the hardest mysteries, I think, of being human. Because we'll notice with maturity that being kind isn't always about letting yourself do exactly what you're craving or exactly what you want or exactly what feels good. But it's doing what you know is right. And to have kindness in our own, like towards ourselves, it also, just like with other human beings, it takes willpower. And not this kind of will of like, do one more repetition or pick up that heavy sack of whatever, but this will that is so subtle and so gentle and so persistent in us. no matter the power of our muscles. Inhale, lift up. And then take your hands to mid-thigh. Maybe lift the booty, or you can do a little rumpus, little dance thing. Or maybe you add some knees, or maybe get some shaking going. Wow. Any kind of movement changes the feeling of it. And we're going to bring our legs together, and we're coming into a full forward bend. So today, I actually want you to take the fluffy part of your butt and roll it underneath you more. And do it on both sides because you're mirrored. And this actually does help open up the pelvic floor a little bit here. And then we're going to come forward in an active way and then become more passive once we're more in the pose. So reach your hips back and move your chest forward. Walk your hands like little pet spiders. Who would have a pet spider? Like little spiders forward. And then see if you can wiggle, like just, it's more of a reach of your butt back and a reach of your chest forward. And then maybe you have a little bit further to go with your spiders. So often, especially if you're like flexible, you can actually like spider your fingers beyond your toes. And then when you can't spider your hands any further, soften and relax into the pose. Take a full breath in with your exhale. Let your exhale sigh out through your mouth. Feel your body respond even just to your breath. Notice if you can soften. Even in our passive yin poses, there's always a little bit of yang. So here we even engage our Mula Bandha. We engage the Uddiyana Bandha. These internal locks as part of our subtle practice. With our words, we can do so many things. We can empower people, we can inspire people, we can make people laugh. I mean, imagine if we didn't have comics all around us every day. If we couldn't laugh about all of this. You know, and what does laughing do? Often laughing makes you like kind of gasping for breath, and you take these really big breaths of air, and it actually helps the whole jubilation of every cell in your body. There are stories about laughter curing cancer, changing lives. That's how sacred this human experience is. Now, with your inhale, start to roll up, and you may find that you can just fluidly go from this passive forward bend to an active plow pose. So you roll up and then keep rolling and bringing your feet up over your head. If your toes touch the ground, really engage your thighs and push your thighs up to the ceiling. If your toes don't touch the ground, you can either put your feet on a lift like a chair or a sofa, or you can bend your knees and let your knees come to your forehead. If you can't get your butt up over your shoulders, you can always come back into the forward bend. It's essentially the same pose, but it feels wildly different because we put the floor somewhere different. Or not just the floor, the whole earth. It's got consequence. This gravity thing. You know, if our eyes are the window to our soul, like what's our mouth? Yeah. We're gonna stay active here, so you can support your lower back with your hands. You can slide your elbows closer together if you want. Just for a couple more breaths, see if you can pull your belly in and lift up your hips and maybe push with your heels. Feel the action here. And then you're gonna roll out of your snail pose, otherwise plow, and you're gonna come up onto your elbows and bring the bottoms of your feet together. And we're gonna move into Yin Fish, which is a Yin version. Yeah, whatever. We're moving into Yin Fish. So you slide your elbows together, so you notice it pops your chest up. And then drop your head back, unless it's aggravating for your neck. Then you can keep your chin towards your chest. And we're going to hang out here for about half of the 5 minutes, otherwise known as about 2.5 minutes. And then we'll let our upper body come to the ground. I might change those times a little bit. But if you need to, before I say, feel free to let your elbows slide out to the side. But this pose feels open everywhere, really exposing. You know, the front of our body is, we're so more, not more sensitive, but we feel more vulnerable, especially as women, but men and women. It's the more vulnerable side of our body. When the lungs are doing well and the large intestines are doing well, part of what they support in our being is the sense of honor and wonder and awe and reverence. It's like they support our love of the universe. That's something so big and so beyond our capacity to actually fit the whole universe in our awareness. Like that gives you wonder. That produces this like, wow. Let your elbows slide out to the side. Take one hand to your heart and one hand to your belly, keeping your feet where they are. Maybe see if you can feel your heartbeat. And without switching hands, can you feel your heartbeat in your other hand? Maybe you can feel your heartbeat even in between your feet. Stretch your legs long and let your arms relax by your side. Take a full, nice, full breath. And then all we're going to do is just do a little therapeutic twist, a couple of breaths to each side. So hug up your knees, yes. Hug them up, get them good. And maybe even lift up your face and kiss your knees since you're hugging them up. And then relax your head on the ground. Take your arms out wide to receive and slowly drop your knees to the left, letting your gaze go to the right or at least right above you. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. They may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Hug your knees back to center and slowly drop your knees to the other side. I mean, part of what Rumi is saying is that everything that we experience in the interiority of our being, of our awareness, to invite them in with laughter, thank them for coming. And behind his words, it is inspiring us to be curious. If this is coming as a guide from beyond, how can I meet it? How can I understand it, transform it? What words can I use to remind myself that it's also guiding me, sharing wisdom with me, even if the origins feel like they come from me. The power of words reach across realms. Now hug your knees back to center. Stretch your legs out long and find your way into Shavasana, or turn off the video and do some vinyasa. So making sure that you're warm. Sometimes doing yin yoga, you can get cold. It's okay to be cold sometimes. But for your Shavasana, using a blanket or at least socks can be helpful. And you can lie on the ground like you're just about to make a snow angel. So your arms out a little wider, your legs out a little wider, taking up space. Close your eyes and now feel your back body. Feel your connection to the solid surface you're lying on. Let your eyes be closed and your breath relaxed. And as much as you can, stay in the witness, the observing, rather than the chatting mind. Notice how you feel in your body. Notice the sounds around you. With your next inhale, start to invite your breath, the edges of your body. Maybe even let your breath carry some words, inspiring you or thanking something. Stretch your arms up over your head and stretch your whole body long on your inhale. And then curl up into a ball on your exhale, rolling onto the side if that feels comfortable for you. And then helping yourself up into a comfortable seated position. So you want to have a nice tall spine, and you're going to bring your hands together at heart center. Close your eyes and then just imagine the other people in this moment with us. And we're going to close our class with one final Om. So I will cut out and you'll have to take it on your own for a little bit. But maybe you can even imagine hearing my voice with yours. Empty your breath. Take a deep inhale. Bring your prayer hands to your third eye. Invite the divine light. And as we bow forward, together we say, Namaste. And so much love to you. Make some noise. Woo. Little drumming. You can make some clapping. Yes. Thank you.